Chicago has 3 bombs ready to explode in their faces. First, an organizational decision showing real commitment to the city. Second, a veteran who cost a pick might be on the way out before proving his worth. And third, our number 10 pick is in a situation that analysts predict will lead to total disappointment. These 600 characters don't suffice for all you need to know. Stick around because this will define our season. What's happening in Chicago right now will change everything you thought you knew about this organization. And I'm going to tell you exactly why these 3 stories are much bigger than they seem. Let's start with something that shows the true character of this organization. While others hide during the dead period, the Chicago Bears donated resources and sent volunteers to the Pride Bowl 2025 at Montrose Beach. What does this mean to me? This is exactly what a world-class organization does in a city like Chicago. More than 50 teams participated in this flag football tournament organized by the Chicago Metropolitan Sports Association. You think this is just PR? You're crazy! This is an organization that understands that representing Chicago means representing the entire city, not just part of it. I've covered sports for decades, and let me tell you something many don't want to admit. Organizations that build real connections with their communities are the ones that succeed long-term. The Patriots of Kraft, the Steelers of Rooney, the Packers with their community ownership, they all understood that football goes beyond the field. And what impresses me even more, the Bears didn't just send donations, but real volunteers. That means organization employees dedicated their free time to be present. You think Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles didn't know about this? Please. This decision came from the top. But here's what really excites me. This is the 2nd year in a row they participate. It wasn't a one-time thing just to look good. This is ongoing commitment. And when I say that Karen Jordan from a BC7 reported that the Bears are helping to create awareness for the Chicago Metropolitan Sports Association and its flag football league, that's community infrastructure investment. I believe when Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren took control of this franchise, they understood something fundamental. The Bears aren't just a football team. We're the heart of this city. And when your LGBTQ+ community needs support, especially when their rights are under attack nationally, you stand up and say, we're with you. Does this mean we're less tough on the field? Please, the most legendary defense in the NFL came from Chicago, and we know being strong on the field and compassionate in the community aren't mutually exclusive. Dick Butkus was an animal on the field, but he was also a community leader. And let me tell you something else. In an era where football is more politicized than ever, the Bears took a clear stand. They didn't hide behind empty corporate statements. They put their money and time where their mouth is. That's real organizational leadership. But here's what really has me thinking, and this is going to make many fans upset with me. Ryan Bates, the guard Ryan Poles pursued as a restricted free agent in Buffalo, then traded a 5th-round pick to get in 2024, might now be on the way out. And you know what's the craziest part? The whole story is even more frustrating than you think. Poles tried to sign Bates as a restricted free agent in 2022. When he was just starting as GM, Buffalo matched the offer and kept him. But what did Poles do? He stayed patient, waited 2 full years, and in 2024 finally traded a 5th-round pick to get him. And what happened? Bates played just 105 snaps last season. 105 snaps. That's less than 7 snaps per game all season. He was on injured reserve after Week 1 against Tennessee and didn't return until Week 10. I ask you, how do you justify trading a draft pick for a player who can't stay healthy? But wait, it gets worse. When Bates finally returned, according to reports, he seemed to struggle significantly every time he was on the field. Even with the right guard spot open for most of the season, Bates couldn't show enough to secure it. That tells me 2 things. Either Bates is completely done physically, or our coaching staff doesn't trust him in important situations. Neither of those options is good for a player you traded a pick for. But here's the real issue, and this is what has me most upset. With Jonah Jackson coming as a pro bowler for right guard, Drew Dalman signed as center, and Joe Thuney as a future Hall of Famer at left guard, where on earth is Bates going to play? I'm telling you, there's no place for him on this roster as a starter. And on top of that, we have fierce competition for backup spots. Kieran Amagaji is a second-year tackle Poles still considers a high-ceiling prospect. Bill Murray played solid when we needed him and showed real versatility. And rookies Ozzie Trapelo and Luke Newman are going to have every opportunity to prove they belong. Do you believe Bates has proven superior to all these players? I'm telling you, he hasn't. And that's the brutal reality of the situation. Now, Pete Martuniak makes an interesting point in his analysis. If the Bears can fully recover that fifth-round pick, he believes they should do it. And I agree 100%. Fifth-round picks aren't anything extraordinary, but Poles has found gems in that round before. But you know what bothers me the most? If Poles can recover that fifth-round pick, he should do it immediately. Because if they only offer a sixth or seventh, I'd keep Bates and have him compete. Because at the end of the day, depth on the offensive line is never too much. And here's what gives me hope despite all this drama. The offensive line we're building is going to be the best Caleb Williams has ever had in his life. With or without Bates, we have 5 starters who can protect our future quarterback. But let me be clear, if Bates can't contribute significantly this year, that was a decision by Poles that cost us a valuable pick. And those are the decisions that separate good G-Miz from the great ones. And now comes the bombshell that has all of Chicago worried. And I'm going to be completely honest with you about what's happening. Coloulston Lovelin, our number 10 pick, is being mentioned among the first-round picks destined to disappoint in 2025. And do you know why? Because he's still recovering from shoulder surgery and didn't participate in any field work during the off-season program. Tell me that I'm crazy. We used the number 10 pick on a tight end when we already had Cole Kmet on a $50 million 4-year contract signed in 2023. I understand Lovelin is special, but how do you justify that decision when the kid can't even train? But before you crucify me, let me explain exactly what's happening here. Lovelin's shoulder surgery was in the offseason, and while he's expected to be ready for training camp, Brian Perez wrote something that worries me. I'll believe it when I see it. That's the reaction of someone who has covered this sport for years. Because we all know that recovery projections for surgeries don't always come true, especially when talking about shoulders in players who need to use their arms for everything. According to Bleacher Report, and specifically Brent Sobleski, Lovelin's incorporation into the offense is going to take time. And I'm telling you, tight end is already a position that develops slowly because you have to understand all the blocking and protection schemes in the passing game. Now add a shoulder surgery and lost practice time on top. Sobleski wrote exactly this, the lost time now, as they slowly incorporate Lovelin during training camp and possibly the preseason, is going to affect his ability to contribute as a rookie, particularly during the first half of the regular season. And you know what bothers me most about all this? That Lovelin was completely worthy of a top 10 selection. This kid at Michigan was an absolute mismatch. 6'5", 245 pounds, with soft hands and the ability to create separation against linebackers and safeties. But what's the point of having all that talent if he can't be on the field? Do you think I'm being too hard on the kid? Not at all. I believe Lovelin is going to be special, but the expectation of immediate impact is completely unrealistic, given the circumstances. Here's what gives me hope. His floor is high because Ben Johnson, who picked him with his first-round pick as head coach, is going to create a package of plays specifically for him. And do you know why that's so important? Because Johnson knows exactly what he's doing with tight ends. When Johnson was offensive coordinator in Detroit, he knew how to use T.J. Hawkinson before trading him to Minnesota. And now that he's head coach, do you think he's not going to do everything possible to ensure his first premium pick succeeds? And you know what's the most interesting? I think Lovelin is going to be Williams' main target in the red zone. Imagine that combination. A number 1 draft quarterback in 2024 with a number 10 draft tight end in 2025. Both hungry to prove they belong at this level. But here's the reality many don't want to accept. Disappointment is a relative term. Brian Perez makes a great point when he says, the only way Coloulston Lovelin could truly be a disappointment in his rookie season is if he makes absolutely no impact. Chicago fans understand he's entering the league with special circumstances. He's injured. We all know it. Expecting a fast start from a young player in a position difficult to translate to the professional level, all while he has a productive veteran in front of him, will be illogical. The key is patience, but also realistic expectations. If Lovelin can be healthy for training camp and show flashes of his potential during the season, that's all we need in year 1. Because when you have Ben Johnson designing plays for you, mismatches will happen naturally. But you know what really excites me about Lovelin? His versatility. This kid can line up as a traditional tight end, split out wide as a receiver, or even in the backfield as a fullback in certain formations. That versatility is going to be crucial when Johnson starts creating specific packages for him. I ask you this, do you prefer a tight end who impacts immediately but has a limited ceiling, or one who takes time to develop but can be a game changer for the next 10 years? Because that's exactly what we have with Lovelin. And let me be clear about something else. The fact that Johnson chose Lovelin as his first-round pick as head coach says everything about what he sees in him. Head coaches don't bet their reputation on players they don't fully believe in. At the end of the day, I believe Lovelin will justify that number 10 pick, but it's going to take time. And in a city like Chicago, where patience isn't exactly our virtue, that's going to be the biggest challenge both the player and the organization face. Chicago fans, these 3 stories have me with mixed feelings, and I know you're also processing a lot of information. What do you think about the Bears' participation in the Pride Bowl? Do you think it demonstrates the authentic character of our organization, or do you think it's just well-executed corporate marketing? Let me know in the comments, because this conversation is important to understand who we are as a fan base. And about Ryan Bates, this situation really has me divided. Do you think Poles should trade him for any pick offered, even if it's less than what he originally spent? Or keep him as depth and hope he competes for a backup spot? This decision could affect our offensive line more than we think, especially if we have injuries during the season. But the most important question, the one that will define much of our success in 2025, do you have confidence that Coloulston Lovelin will justify that number 10 pick despite his current health issues? Because I'm telling you this, if he stays healthy and Johnson can create the right system for him, it's going to be something special. But are you willing to be patient? Subscribe to the channel because tomorrow we'll have more explosive news about the moves Ryan Poles is making ahead of training camp. This community is a family, and together we're going to follow every step of our Chicago Bears towards something that could be very special if all the pieces fit correctly. Give a LIKE if you think Poles is building something great despite these challenges. Subscribe if you want to be part of this Bears family that doesn't miss a single piece of news, good or bad. And remember, in Chicago, we don't mess around when it comes to our team. Bear down, family.